Hello everybody, it's terrific. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. And I want to talk about an author by the name of Grady Hendrix. Ever hear of him? Grady Hendrix is an author that came out with a lot of buzz. And one of the things that I've seen with the buzzy books and the buzzy authors is a lot of times you get the buzz and you get the bang, and then they kind of fade away. And that's unfortunate. And Grady Hendrix is not that guy. Not like that, not that way at all. So he came out with a bang, with a buzz. I heard about him with a book called Horror Store. And it's a fabulous book. I really did love that book. The highs and lows, roller coaster, and in the end I said, wow, great book. And he's followed it up with some really good books. And I think probably my favorite is My Best Friend's Exorcism. And that was a fun book. I hate to admit it, but I did a little bit of boo-hoo teardroppers and while reading that book, and I really loved it. And I dig the nostalgia, and I find it a guy, Grady Hendrix, writes girls practically in every book. Girls being the main characters in his books. All of them that I've read, it's been that way. And he seems to do it so well and so fun, and writing them in a way that I like these girl characters. And I can associate with him in ways, but he does a great job with that. But I just read a book called, let's see, what was it called here? I gotta pull it down. Get ready. And it's a long title. Some of his books have really long titles, and there's lots of these and ofs and fors. And this one is no different. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. And this is the Berkeley edition, and I like it. I like the lava lamp on there, and it was a signed edition, so I was glad to have it in the collection. And I got some other stuff I'll show you here in a minute. But anyway, I was glad to get this book, a signed version, and that's the book I want to talk about today. I actually read an ebook version that I got for free to do a review, which is what I'm going to do right now. But Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, I think. I've read, let's see, the books I've read. I've read Horror Store, My Best Friend's Exorcism, and We Sold Our Souls. Those are the three Grady Hendrix books I've read. My Best Friend's Exorcism being my favorite of the three. Horror Store being fabulous. We Sold Our Souls being good, but my least favorite of those three. Now reading this one, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I'll tell you first a little bit about some observations, and then we'll talk a little bit about the story itself. But one of the things that I've noticed in the Grady Hendrix books that I've read is there's a lot of fun, a lot of humor built into them, a lot of good times, a lot of nostalgia, and it's all on a positive side. It's all a way we can enjoy. And I was a guy, I was born in the mid-70s, did my growing up in the 80s, my kidhood, my childhood, the best years, the fun years, they were all in the 80s. And so I dig it, and Grady puts a lot of that 80s nostalgia in his books, and I'm the target audience. And my kids, they're the ones that hear about it, and so I think they would be a good generation for that stuff too. But anyway, the 80s are popular now, they're fun. And a lot of his books have that stuff built in, but it's usually fun stuff with a horror mixed in. And this one being about witchcraft, I kind of thought more of the same. So the formula is a lot of girls as the main characters, likable girls, admirable girls, girls put in tough situations, girls struggling, and girls having to fight their way through and survive. Seems to be what I've read in the books that I've read. In that regard, this book is no different. You have practically your entire cast is girls. But what's different? This book is not quite so fun. I'm not saying it's not fun to read, or it's not good to read. It's not a great book, because it is. I would say it's Grady Hendrix's best of the four that I've read now. This, I'd say, is his best book all the way through from start to finish. Zero weaknesses, zero dips, not a single complaint. So I would say it's a great book, absolutely. What was I saying? What was I talking about? it has the girls. It has some of that stuff. It was actually set in the 70s, in 1970, so it doesn't have the 80s nostalgia. But he took a heavy subject, and I don't think it's. I guess you could. I just don't think it's an appropriate subject to turn in a fun, good time read. Although he does put a little bit of these girls experiencing things and trying things and having some childish behaviors and things because they're teenagers. So he put that teenage stuff in the book, but it's a heavy subject. You're talking about girls in an era where a girl getting pregnant kind of means you're screwed. I didn't mean it that way. Your things are rough. It's not acceptable. You don't. I mean, I grew up in a later era where even it was tough then. A girl in high school would get pregnant in the 90s. It was rough. It was rough then. I'm sure it's rough. Period. Teenagers getting pregnant is rough in most cases, in most societies. Period. But society made it rough. The support structure was not there. The understanding was not there. The acceptance and the tolerance was not there. So girls in this book, the way the book portrays it, I wasn't there. Girls in 1970 get pregnant. You don't get to live a normal life. You don't get to go on and pursue the things you wanted to be able to do in life. Hopes, dreams, and ambitions, well, they're not for you. Unless your parents send you off to a place before everybody finds out that you're pregnant. Send you off to a place, hide you, where they take care of you and you have the baby. Then they take the baby and give it to couples who can afford to raise the baby or can afford to pay people for the baby, to pay for your doctor bills and all that stuff. And then you get to heal up, dress back up, buck up, put a smile on your face. Hear the donkeys making noise, and go back to regular society like nothing ever happened. You just went to go see Aunt Lola. Well, there's nothing funny there. So this isn't the typical Grady Hendrix fare of comedy, fun, heart mixed in, stuff like that. So it is deeper, it is a little bit heavier, but it's still Grady Hendrix, and he still has a way to take the edge off without trying to fool you into thinking that this isn't a tough subject and a difficult topic, and reminding you of how it wasn't exactly fair and it wasn't exactly good in any way whatsoever. So anyway, that's kind of how it's different. It's a little bit deeper, a little bit more serious than the other Grady Hendrix books I've read, but it may be his best book. Is it my favorite book? It's hard to say. I still feel like My Best Friend's Exorcism is my favorite, only because so much of that book was so fun. It was fun. It was a good time. It was deep and it was heavy. Like I said, I cried for that one, but it was so much fun, I think, where this was less fun, but a fabulous book. So probably this is better. I still think I just enjoyed the reading of that one better. But I'm going to tell you up front, this book that I can't remember the name of ever, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, I rated it 5 stars out of 5 stars. It is a 5-star book to me. One that I would recommend. I recommend it to my wife, who doesn't read horror and doesn't want to have anything to do with reading about witchy horror books. I'd tell her the witchcraft. It's just it's just scenery in the book. The book's not about witchcraft. It's about the things these girls had to do and the struggles that they had, and it's humanizing it. These girls are people that you grow to understand and to appreciate, feel for, cheer for, hope for, and see what they have to endure and see how they, in their own way, have to fight to survive. Sometimes losing the battle. But anyway, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. We have our main character is, we come to know her as Fern. You see, every time a girl goes to this home, they're given a name. Miss Wellwood, the home for Wellwood's home for wayward girls. She gives them a name because when you come here, we don't want any ties to your life at all. We want you to be able to go back to your normal life. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody will ever be able to get a hold of you. So she's given a name when she gets there, the name being Fern. And she's 16 or 17, and she's pregnant. She's dating a boy, and they end up having sex, and she ends up getting pregnant. And her dad, it starts off with her dad taking her to Florida. Summertime in 1970 in Florida, getting her in the family car, taking her down there, and all along he's mad. He doesn't want to talk to her. She's trying, she's a kid. She's trying to be with her dad the way she had always been, but now nothing's the same. Her dad can't look at her in the same way. He can't let her go without telling her how disappointed he is, how upset he is, how she's ruined her life and ruined their lives as well. How she's ruined his family, the family's life, her aunt. Everything's gone bad. And all she wants is for things to go back the way they were before she got pregnant. But he's taking her to this home, basically to dump her, so they can keep her till she has her baby, heal her back up, and then send her home and they can say, hey, nothing happened. She went and visited aunt, whatever. All summer long, and that's why she couldn't go in the dance recital or act their stage recital show that she was going to do, a play or something like that. And so she goes to this home and she gets there right away. And you've already kind of got a pecking order with these other girls, and you got the bosses, and you got the cook, and you got the people that run the place, Mrs. Wellwood. But you've also got the other girls in there and their situations. And she made some pretty cool characters. Some of these girls, every one of them, the main ones that you get to know, they're all different races, different attitudes and personalities, backgrounds, hopes. Maybe some want to keep their baby and get back together with their boyfriend and get married and go on, and some want to take the baby and run off and go join a commune somewhere, and some just want this to all be over. Have the baby, give it away, go back to being a child, go back to being the way they were and things like that. They've all got their own agendas. And a bookmobile comes in. Some of these girls, they become friends. Some of them like to read. Go figure. Some of them like to read, and there's not much to read there. Much interesting. But a bookmobile comes by ever so often. And so they're on this bookmobile, and Fern can't really find what she's looking for. But the lady that runs the bookmobile says, I got something for you. And she gives her a book called, what's it called? How to Be a Groovy Witch by F. Natas. F. Natas. And if you were to read that backwards, it might mean something. And this came in the mail. I mean, I don't even know what I did to deserve this, but this came in the mail from Grady Hendrix, a chapbook one day. I did a little video on it. I don't know why. I don't know what it meant or anything like that. I hadn't read the book yet. But it turns out this was the book. It was an actual book, not a little chapbook thing, that she picked up on the bookmobile. And what it was kind of like, here's how you be a witch, some spells. And so the girls, there's a variety of stuff going on, but one of the newer girls named Zinnia, she had terrible morning sickness, just vomiting non-stop. And one of the first spells, essentially the first spell they were able to read and understand, was a transference spell. And the doctor, that was such a butthole to him. I wanted to say a bad word, but I didn't. He was a jerk face to the girls. And he told Zinnia that her sickness was all in her head, and as soon as she gets her head straightened out, she won't be sick anymore. Well, this transference spell made him sick and her no longer sick. So he's puking his guts out, puking so bad they had to hospitalize him, and for the most part, he's not even really a part of the book. I mean, he was out of commission for a while. He had little parts here and there. But they tried to spell and it worked, and then they're like, oh, this is all going to be cool. And they decided to go act like witches and do things. But they really can't understand the book. They're reading this book over and over and over. It doesn't make any sense. It's gobbledygook. So they kind of like foiled. That one worked, but now I don't understand any of this stuff. Don't know what any of these words mean. And they go down to the river where they're not supposed to late at night, in the woods, where the hippies, they call them the hippies, where the hippies might be. And they run into these hippies. And then they run into the lady that runs the bookmobile. And I don't want to spoil too much, but I'll tell you one more thing. Turns out she's a witch. That's their coven. And she needs to recruit some. But characters that you start off thinking are really good are not necessarily so good. And also on the flip side, other characters that you think are POSs turn out to be the ones that save the day. So there's some of that stuff going on, some heel turns and face turns and stuff like that in the book. And all the way through, it's really, really good. And the ending also is really, really good. And just like I said, my best friend's exorcism, Grady Hendrix had this thing where he kind of wrapped the story up and then he fast forwarded a little bit or a lot and the tears started to flow. I was choking up at the end of this one, wiping away the tears and hoping nobody would walk in as I was finishing up this book just the same. So I would say of the Grady Hendrix books that I've read, I hate to put this one above Horror Store, because to me that one's a special one. It kind of touches a nerve for me, locked up in an IKEA type store. I mean, I fantasized about that as Zare as a kid, department store that we had in Brooksville, Florida back in the 80s when I was growing up. Zare as a kid, I wish I could hide out and they'd turn off the lights and lock the doors and leave me in Zare's. That was a dream for me. I could play with all the toys and I could move stuff around and climb up and hide in things. It would be so great. I could go through that door that said employees only and find out what's behind there. Horror Store had a lot of that stuff for me. And the first time I went to an IKEA, I thought, dang, wouldn't it be cool to live here? Just run everybody out and I just live here. Thought it'd be cool. This is a better book. This is a better book all the way through. That one had some dips, some lulls, some scratching head things. And honestly, so did my best friend's exorcism, although much, much, much less. That one was a really good book. I think I still kind of liked it better. This one's a better book. So I want to say it's my second favorite that I've read of his, only because my best friend's exorcism to me was fun. This is a better book though. And like I said, 5 out of 5 stars. I would recommend this book to anyone. Grady Hendrix. I'm a guy, so I don't know. But my opinion, Grady Hendrix is a guy that seems to write young teenage girls very well, to show them as not being weak and stupid. Shows them as being people that are struggling against the world, against society, against their own nature and their own changing lives and the control that people are trying to place on them and the boxes that people are trying to put them in and stuff like that. He kind of reminds us that life ain't always easy. And so bad decisions don't necessarily mean you're bad people. Being in bad situations doesn't make you bad people. And that we can overcome some things like that. But anyway, my best friend's Witchcraft for Wayward Girls was fabulous. I strongly recommend it. And with that being said, I can think of no more lies to tell. So thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it. Say la vie, baby. Do.